You are beautiful.
Please don't hurt anyone. Please
Hey,
don't.
por favor! And you know what? For you, I think I can promise that I won't hurt anybody if you can do something for me. Quítate la blusa.
Zoe Hull is a high school senior still struggling to cope with the recent death of her mother from cancer. The grief has changed her, leaving her distant and emotionally shut down. One day, she goes hunting with her father, Todd. They shoot a buck, but it doesn't die right away. Faced with either letting it suffer or ending its pain, Todd begins explaining the situation. But before he can finish, Zoe grabs a rock and quickly puts the animal down herself. Todd is caught off guard by how cold it seems, assuming her behavior is tied to the trauma she's been carrying since her mother's death. Later at breakfast, Zoe has one of her usual imagined conversations with her mom. She knows it's not normal, but she keeps it to herself because it helps her cope. As she gets ready for school, her best friend Lewis arrives to pick her up. On the way, a group of students runs them off the road. While they wait for the car to start again, Zoe notices a classmate, Chris, acting strangely in a nearby field. She finds it unusual, but brushes it off since he's always been seen as a loner. At school, it's senior prank day, something Zoe and Lewis both find more annoying than fun. In the middle of all the chaos, Zoe's chemistry teacher, Mrs. Jane, notices how much she's changed since her mother passed away and tries to talk to her about it, but Zoe avoids the conversation entirely. Not long after, Zoe finds a prom invitation from Lewis in her locker. The idea of going makes her uncomfortable, and she's even more stressed about having to reject him. At lunch, she tries to dodge the topic, but Lewis brings it up himself, explaining he only asked her as a friend so neither of them would be alone. Still overwhelmed, Zoe excuses herself and heads to the restroom. At the same time, a series of explosions are going off around the city, keeping emergency services distracted. It's clear these aren't random accidents. While in the restroom, Zoe notices Anna, a known bully, hiding something inside a vent. But when Zoe checks it herself, there's nothing there. Back in the cafeteria, everything suddenly turns into chaos. A van smashes through the glass entrance, hitting a student. Behind the wheel is Chris, the same guy Zoe saw earlier. Without hesitation, he shoots the injured student. Moments later, he's joined by Anna, his sister, along with Kip and their leader Tristan. It becomes clear they planned everything. The explosions were just a distraction. Now, they're turning the school into a killing ground, immediately executing people to establish control and spread fear. As Zoe prepares to leave the restroom, a wounded girl stumbles inside, begging for help. Frozen and overwhelmed, Zoe can't react in time, and the girl dies right in front of her. Realizing the situation is far worse than she thought, Zoe carefully steps out, trying to listen in on what the shooters are saying. In the cafeteria, Tristan makes it clear that everyone is now a hostage and must follow his orders. Spotting a student who used to bully him, Chris doesn't hesitate. He shoots him on the spot without even waiting for permission. Tristan, though not opposed, tells him to stay controlled and only act when told. Meanwhile, Kip heads toward the restroom to check for anyone hiding. Sensing danger, Zoe quickly climbs into the vent just in time and begins crawling through the ducts, searching for a way out. Back in the cafeteria, Tristan forces a girl to call someone she loves. She calls her mother, tearfully explaining what's happening and telling her goodbye. Her mother promises to call the police immediately. After the call ends, Tristan reveals that the authorities are already aware, making it pointless for anyone else to try reaching out. He even allows everyone to make what could be their final phone call. One by one, the students break down, saying emotional goodbyes to their families. As Zoe moves through the aid events, her escape is suddenly cut short when the vent above the kitchen gives way, sending her crashing to the floor. The noise immediately draws Chris in. Just as he's about to find her, a staff member steps in to shield Zoe, taking a bullet instead. The sacrifice shocks her, but she quickly regains focus. At the same time, Tristan calls the school receptionist and reveals what's happening. Though she initially doubts him, she quickly alerts the principal and the security guard. Meanwhile, Zoe slips out through a back exit in the kitchen and finds a group of students outside, warning them about the shooters inside the school. Back in the cafeteria, Tristan escalates things further by ordering the hostages to start live streaming everything. He wants the entire world watching. As the streams begin, he warns platforms not to shut them down, threatening more deaths if they do. Just as he starts addressing the viewers, the principal and security guards step in. Tristan isn't intimidated. Instead, he confronts them, questioning whether they ever truly understood him. The principal brings up Tristan's past behavior and poor performance, reminding him of the warnings he was given. But Tristan pushes back, claiming his actions go beyond school discipline. He believes he's been mistreated and overlooked by society. As the principal tries to calm him down, Tristan suddenly shoots and kills him. The security guard is spared, but only so he can run and spread the fear. Because his livestream is pulling the most viewers, Lewis is forced to act as the main cameraman and is pushed to the front. At the same time, Zoe moves from classroom to classroom, trying to warn everyone about what's really happening. Some teachers brush her off, thinking it's just part of senior prank day, while others start to realize the danger. But going room by room is too slow. Trying to speed things up, Zoe pulls the fire alarm, but the plan fails almost immediately. Anna, positioned in the electrical room, kills a security guard and shuts the system down, silencing the alarm. With no signal to evacuate, students who had started leaving return to their classrooms. Over the intercom, the receptionist announces a lockdown, telling everyone to stay where they are. At the same time, police begin arriving outside, and news coverage starts spreading. Tristan, wanting maximum attention, demands the live stream be pushed onto national television. As Zoe reaches the front office, a bagged explosive suddenly detonates nearby, killing several people. The attack was clearly planned to stop information from spreading, even if it went off slightly later than intended. Shaken, Zoe briefly hallucinates her mother again, hearing her voice in the chaos. Moments later, she spots Anna and immediately plays dead to avoid being seen. Once Anna leaves, Zoe continues trying to warn others, knocking on a classroom door, but the noise gives her away. Anna hears it and chases her down, shooting her in the leg during the pursuit. The chase leads into a classroom filled with prank balloons. Using the distraction, Zoe hides and waits for the right moment. When Anna lets her guard down, Zoe strikes. After a struggle, she manages to shoot and take Anna down. At the same time, police begin investigating Tristan's background and track down his house. When they enter, they discover his mother dead on the couch, clearly having been there for days. It quickly becomes obvious that Tristan is responsible. Back at the school, Tristan leaves Chris in charge and heads to a Spanish classroom. The teacher begs him to stop, but instead he humiliates her on camera, forcing her to undress in front of the live stream. Meanwhile, Zoe's father, Todd, hears about the situation and rushes toward the school. Outside, the area is already packed with police, reporters, and terrified parents. Inside, Chris starts hearing the same voices that pushed him into this plan in the first place. Under their influence, he begins firing at officers outside, which immediately draws Tristan's attention. Tristan rushes back to the cafeteria, bringing the Spanish teacher and her class with him. Not long after, Kip runs into Zoe and chases her, shooting as he goes. The pursuit leads into a slick hallway where Zoe uses a fire extinguisher to knock him out. She drags him to the auditorium and cuffs him to a chair. While he's unconscious, Zoe once again hallucinates her mother, who hints that Zoe hasn't fully let her go. When Kip wakes up, he notices Zoe talking to herself and assumes she's just like them. Zoe questions him about why he joined the attack. Kip explains a humiliating moment from middle school where he was stripped in front of everyone and laughed at nonstop, but Zoe pushes back on that idea, suggesting not everyone was mocking him. She calls him out for killing innocent people who had nothing to do with his past and warns that his actions will only make people remember him for that moment all over again. Her words begin to break through, shaking Kip out of the mindset Tristan pulled him into. Zoe comes out with Kip's gun and runs into Mrs. Jane, who is leading her class out of the building. Seeing the weapon, the teacher initially assumes Zoe is one of the attackers, but Zoe quickly explains the truth. She helps escort the students to safety, but refuses to leave, determined to keep helping the others inside. Mrs. Jane decides to stay with her, and the two move toward the library. Outside, a rescued student tells Todd that Zoe has been saving people but chose to stay behind. He feels both proud and terrified. Inside, Tristan realizes someone is interfering with his plan and calls Anna's phone. Zoe answers and admits she killed her. Tristan gives her 5 minutes to come to the cafeteria or he'll start executing hostages, and to prove it, he shoots a random student. Watching this unfold, Todd grabs his rifle and prepares to go in himself. Inside, Zoe returns to Kip, who is now filled with regret. She convinces him to help her, even trusting him enough to give him a gun before heading toward the cafeteria. When Zoe confronts Tristan, he's surprised to see her, recognizing her from school. She stands her ground and challenges him. Kip shows up to back her up, but Tristan mocks him, seeing him as weak. A gunfight breaks out, and Kip is killed by Chris. In the chaos, Zoe and Lewis escape, with Chris chasing them. After a while, Lewis admits he's been shot. Zoe hides him in an office, shares a kiss with him, and promises they'll still go to prom, before leaving to draw Chris away. The chase leads to the chemistry lab where Zoe triggers a small explosion using gas. The blast alerts Todd, who has entered the woods behind the school. Chris eventually corners Zoe, but just before he can kill her, Todd shoots him dead. Police quickly find Todd and take him into custody, but he's only relieved that Zoe is safe. Zoe then answers Tristan's call using Chris's phone. Her hallucination of her mother appears again, pushing her forward. She sends Tristan a photo of Chris's body, taunting him. With his team gone, Tristan starts to lose control. As a last move, he rigs a van with explosives and detonates it. During their call, Zoe tells him his plan failed. His message is meaningless compared to what she's done. This breaks him. He grabs a hostage and heads to the roof, leaving the rest behind. Zoe returns to the cafeteria and finds the bomb with only seconds left. She quickly evacuates the hostages and drives the van outside, preventing casualties when it explodes. Back inside, a SWAT officer restrains her. In that moment, her vision of her mother finally fades, symbolizing that she's let go. The sheriff later confirms Tristan died in the explosion. Zoe reunites with her father, who tells her how proud he is. Lewis is taken for medical care and survives. But it's not over. Zoe spots someone suspicious leaving the area. Taking her father's rifle, she follows him and discovers it's Tristan, alive, trying to escape with hidden cash. She shoots him in the chest. Like the wounded deer from earlier, he's dying but not yet gone. This time, Zoe doesn't show mercy. She leaves him there to suffer. In the end, Zoe returns and reports everything. Her journey comes full circle, stronger, changed, and finally free from the weight she carried.